Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Ireland Bound, Chapter 3, Dorothy Garrett. This one's about my mother. And I've got quite a few pictures in here, and I've also got at least one really good story for you in it. And of course, talking about my mother and about my family. So, I hope y'all enjoy. And if you are new to the channel, if you haven't seen me before, Chapter 3 doesn't mean that you're getting in the middle of a storyline. The other two, you can go back and watch them at any time, and it doesn't affect how I views it. It's just the different ways I have of setting up each individual episode that I watch. I choose to call them chapters instead of episodes. It's the writer in me. What can I say? So, I hope y'all enjoy. And I'll be doing a break-in or two, and I'll see y'all at the end. Bye. Excuse the fuzzy pictures. After all, this was early day photography, so they weren't as good as they are now. But this is my mom as a little one, sitting outside of the mobile home. Actually, it was a travel trailer that her parents had when she was born. My grandfather was working on a railroad line, and so they had to be mobile, so they bought this little travel trailer. Now, there's a bit of a story that happens with this travel trailer. In fact, here in just a moment, I'm going to switch over and tell you about this video because it's something else. Okay, the travel trailer that I just mentioned was the one that my grandparents lived in when my mother was born. My grandfather was working on the railroad, and this travel trailer went with them from site to site. It was part of his working gear. They lived in it, and my mother was about a year old in the pictures, the last few pictures I showed you there. And then something happened. My grandmother had taken my mother in and had laid her down for a nap, as you do with most one-year-old children. She laid her down, and of course it wasn't a modern one, so you didn't have all the modern safety devices. You didn't have all the modern things to ensure the safety of being in one of those. It was early day. They didn't have everything they do now. My grandmother apparently didn't realize that something had fallen onto the stove, and it had caught on fire. This happened after she left out. She went outside the travel trailer because there's some things she needed to do outside. And then all of a sudden she realized the whole thing was engulfed in flames, and she screamed for my grandfather. He came running, and when he found out that his baby girl, my mother, was inside, he rushed in. He went into this burning structure to save his daughter, my mother. It wasn't that safe. I mean, the whole thing could have collapsed in on both of them, and they both would have died. But he had to save his baby girl. And by him saving his baby girl, he allowed me to live. Because the story would have ended and I would never have been here. This was my grandfather's first act of heroism. He was something else. And whenever I get to his part in a few chapters, I've got quite a few stories to tell about him. I've got a lot that it just, you kind of think, this is all the same man. Yes, this was my grandfather's character, rushing into burning buildings, saving his baby girl, and the other things, which, as I said, I will mention when I get to his story. but this one involved my mother, so it seemed appropriate to put into her story. So, get back to the next pictures, and I hope y'all enjoy. Continuing on, as you can see, this is another picture. You remember the one with me on a horse? Well, this is my mom with a horse named Trigger. Yep, she had a little bit of affinity for horses also. She also had her parents, who she loved very much. This is my grandparents, Dick and Marie. For a while there, she had them all to herself, just the three of them together. This was them at my grandfather's grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary. That's 4 generations right there. Yep, my grandparents, they loved my mom, and they loved all their kids. As you can tell, they enjoyed having their time where they were holding them. And of course, my mother had some cousins. She had quite a number of cousins, actually, a whole lot more than what I think I have pictures to describe. And of course, at some point, along came her little brother, Johnny. Yep, they became a foursome then. And my mother, she took care of him. She loved him. This was her baby brother. And she always had an affinity for wanting to watch out for him. And of course, as you go through life, you have school pictures. My mom had quite a variety, as you can tell, of school pictures. Yes, and some of them I do look just like her. That was Grandma there with her son, her daughter, and 2 of her nieces. That's Ruthie and who was the other one? Anyways, my mother, she went on and grew up. Had lots of wonderful different hairstyles, as you can tell through some of these pictures. Patsy, that was the other girl. Ruthie and Patsy were her 2 cousins, the 2 she is closest to. Yeah, some of these hairstyles I don't get. I mean, honestly, I love my mom, but really, she always reminded me in this picture of someone famous, and I can't think of who it is right now. Yes, I'm tired. It's been a long day. And of course, my mom grew up. And as she grew, her styles changed, her tastes changed. And eventually, she did get married. Her first husband, who I don't have a picture of, was a man by the name of Ralph Hell. The marriage didn't last too long. They ended up getting divorced, and my mom did eventually meet my dad. Of course, as you can see from the previous video that was mine, we had at least 1 or 2 good family portraits there. But eventually my dad did pass away, and it left just my mom and me for the longest time. As you can see, my mom also had an affinity for cats, and they loved her too. They loved to climb up on her. She'd say, if you pull a blanket up on you, they will come. This was us at a friend of mine's son's birthday party. We had a good time, as we always did, and enjoyed everybody's company. And of course, there was always Christmas time at my brother's house. My brother and I had the same father, different mothers, so that's kind of why he's not really listed in this part of the family stuff. And of course, my mom was a bear fanatic. She loved her bears. This was the last picture of my mom and my uncle. And of course, the next story is going to be about him. I hope y'all enjoyed the pictures and the videos that I had put up today. There were several of them there, so maybe you found one you enjoyed. And I left it where I did on purpose, because not long after that picture was taken, my uncle got sick and ended up passing away. And it was about 1.5 years later that my mother passed away. So, lost both of them in a short period of time. But my uncle did some research into the genealogy. It's actually because of him that I'm doing this now. He gathered the information. He gathered everything that I needed to get started. And it's because of him that I'm doing this channel, honestly. It's because of him that I wanted to make sure that our family story didn't die. Because I sat there a lot and listened to my mother and I listened to my uncle, and they talked a lot about the family. There were stories that they told. There was things that they, were always mentioning, things that, I wouldn't have known about if they hadn't told me. So, Uncle Johnny, thank you for your research. And Mama, thank you for loving your brother enough that we would go and hang out with him a lot. Also, too, there's something else I need y'all to do. If you're new to the channel, or if you have not done it yet, there's this big red subscribe button down there. I need you to hit it. Hit it and let them know, hey, I want to be a member of the channel here. There's going to be 3 little bells that come up. You hit the top one that says all, and anything and everything that I post, you'll be aware of. So you can keep up with what's going on. You can keep up with the family as I'm telling more and more stories, and with the other content that I'm going to be adding later on. I got a few other things going, because if I did just my family stories, I could go for a while, but I couldn't go for very long. But there's some other things, like I said, I'm adding into it. So, hit the all button so that way you get everything. Also, too, go up and tell YouTube that you like my video. Hit the little like button, the thumbs up, and say, hey, I kind of like Jennifer's video. I want to give her a thumbs up. And so give a thumbs up. And if you see some of these pictures or some of the names that come up and you're thinking, that sounds familiar, I think I know who that is. I've seen a picture like that before. You might have. It might be one that you've seen in one of your family albums. And if it is, drop me a link, go down to the comments and go, hey, I have a picture just like this. The picture that you showed there, this one, that looks like my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents. We might be related. And if we are, that would be great, because I would love to connect with you and find out some more about the members of the family that we lost contact with. So, just go in, hit subscribe, hit the all, hit the like button, leave a comment, and until next week, I will leave you. Chapter 4 will be coming up, and it's going to be about my Uncle Johnny. So I hope y'all enjoy it, and I hope y'all have a great week.